Hello everyone. I have a little bit of a new setup. I got a new chair in my book room and I feel like I've been wanting and needing this to complete my space, my book space. I've been wanting to make my room a lot more cozy and warm because my book room right now is a bit gray and white and clean. You know, I do like that too, but I want to like add stuff, make it more warm and cozy like I said, and this chair was the first step, and I have this cute blanket. And this video is not about my book room decorations, but I just need to tell someone who understands how happy I am that I have this Papasan chair. I've been wanting it literally for so long. Today I'm going to talk about what I've been reading, what books I'm liking. We are in mid-October. I'm doing trick-or-treat-a-thon because I'm a co-host, and I'm going to tell you guys what I picked out to read for those prompts and all of that stuff. And first I just want to say that I'm so sorry. I feel like this year I have not been posting a lot of videos. My consistency has just been shit. Like, I have not been posting consistently at all in terms of videos. I do post shorts a lot, and I still have seen a lot of growth on my channel and hit milestones I never thought I would hit. Like, I literally just hit 11K over this past weekend. Like 2 days ago, I hit 11,000 subscribers. So thank you if you're subscribed. Thank you for being here and watching my videos. That is just so amazing. But I feel like I'm so disappointed in the videos that I have put out in terms of how frequent I put them out. Like, I just have not been posting, and I think it's more internally. I just haven't known what to post, really haven't been wanting to sit down and film, but I feel like I'm a little rejuvenated. Hopefully that changes. I'm not making promises that I can't keep, but anyway, I'll structure this video by going off of the prompts because that is how I've been reading this month, and I'll talk about some books I haven't read yet as well. So one of the prompts was to read a commonly banned book, and I did this. I read Beloved recently by Toni Morrison. This is a literature book that is a sort of fiction horror novel. Not only does it show an all too accurate reflection of the horrific acts of enslavement that went on in the US, but it also centers around a formerly enslaved person named Setha. So it centers around Setha, who was born a slave, and years later when she's older she has children, but one of her children dies. In the book we see her being free and having a house called Sweet Home where she was formerly enslaved, but now this is her house. But even though she's free, she's also still chained by the memories of, one, being oppressed, two, losing her child and the ways that that happened. And so we really explore how it happened. And maybe I shouldn't say it's a horror, it's more of like a suspenseful novel with a haunting tone, and like actually is kind of like literally haunting. So I don't know, I've seen people say horror book, ghost, stuff like that, but either way, I think that this book was so good. I gave it 4 stars and I read it within 1 or 2 days. I used to read books so fast all the time, and I haven't been in a while. I feel like this month I've been reading fast though, but this one I definitely did fly through just because it was a very interesting book, and you almost had to keep paying attention because the way that the book is set up is like there's multiple point of views and timelines, and we just jump through them. Like, you don't really get a blaring sign of where you're at now and who's talking. You just kind of have to figure it out, and it does flow though. Like, it's not too confusing, and it's not like you can't follow the story. It does flow really well, and I think Toni Morrison, this is the first book I've read by her. I think she was incredibly talented, and she's won award after award, and I can see why. I did tab a couple pages as well, just things that I thought were so thought-provoking and really caught me and really had me wanting to mark them so I could go back and just read certain quotes later. I think a lot of where this book has been banned and challenged just comes from the fact that a lot of people don't want Black voices to be heard and accurately depicted on their history and the things that Black people have went through, especially in America. And overall, that makes it even more important for us to read stories like this and to read challenged and banned books. So I was really happy that I read this, and I gave it 4 stars. Another book I read was Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo. I just finished this like one night ago. how do I say that? Like, not last night, but the night before. Hellbent is the sequel to Ninth House. If you haven't read Ninth House, I highly recommend, but I recommend Hellbent even more. And yes, you need to read Ninth House first, but Hellbent was so good. I don't actually have a physical copy. I read it on my Kindle, and I borrowed my friend Sarah's copy of Hellbent, and she has 2, and I don't have any. I need to go buy it. But I borrowed hers because I wanted to read it both ways, physically and on my Kindle. And boy, did I. Even read it on my phone, my Kindle app. So I was reading this book 3 different ways, and I tried to get the audio, but I didn't want to pay for it, and it wasn't on script, so I didn't get to read it on audio. But I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I really just love to soak it in. I read it in, I want to say, like 3 or 4 sittings, so it didn't take me that long at all, and I just wanted to read it in big chunks because it's one of those stories that you just like can't stop reading. You just want to keep knowing. And I felt like the tempo of the book was so much better than Ninth House, because Ninth House had so much world building and it was just intense descriptions of Yale and the secret societies and all that stuff. But Hellbent, we get to focus more on Alex, or Galaxy Stern, and Dawes and Darlington and Turner, and really hone in on their characters, and I loved it so much. I gave it 5 stars. I can't tell you what Hellbent is about, but it was so good, and I love Darlington. Nobody talked to me. I love Darlington. He's so good. But in Ninth House, we follow Galaxy Stern, who got into a lot of trouble, but she has some abilities that make her a target for Yale, and especially Leave, which is a secret society of Yale within Yale. And they basically were like, hey, we'll get you into our school if you do this for us because we know your abilities. And she was like, well, I won't be able to do anything else with my life unless I do this, and sure, I would love to go to Yale. So she gets roped into all this, and that sets her off onto a wild ride that may or may not lead her to going to hell. I don't know. That might happen, might not. But anyway, I loved Hellbent so much, and I'm glad I read it. I was really scared, and that's why I hadn't bought a copy, because I was scared that it was going to be like 9,000. I was like, it's going to take me so long to read. I'm just not going to be in it. It's going to take so much of like my brain power, and I wasn't ready for that. But my friend was like, it's so good, just read it. And I looked at all the ratings, and I was like, yeah, okay, everybody is rating it so good, so let me try it. And I'm glad I did because it was so good. I had to read a book about a curse, and for this one I read Do Your Worst by Rosie Danan. It is an adult romance, and Rosie Danan wrote The Roommate, and I remember I had read that, and that one, I'm not even gonna go into that one, but that one was pretty good too. But I think Rosie Danan mostly writes like smut, like you're reading her books because the romance and the smut, obviously, because Do Your Worst is a romance. But anyway, it's more of a kind of, I want to say, spooky romance, because it's about the occult, because the main character, Riley Rhodes, she is a curse breaker. So when she gets hired on to this project in Scotland where this castle has been cursed, they want her to get rid of the curse. So she goes to Scotland to do that, and then one day at a bar she meets this guy named Clark, and they hit it off, and they just like really like each other from then on. But then the next day she goes to a job site, and there's an architect there who is Clark, and he was withholding some information from her, and basically he like is on the project, and he needs to dig up some stuff from the site and clear his name because he got into a scandal in the architect world, and Riley is interfering because he's like, you're gonna ruin everything by your mumbo jumbo curse stuff, because he doesn't believe in it. So he really like doesn't take her seriously, and that is like her profession. Like, she's literally a curse breaker. They are like rivals because they did like each other, but now they have a reason to literally hate each other because they have to both work on this site in this abandoned old castle in Scotland, and he has his reasons, she has her reasons, and they just cannot agree on anything because she obviously feels disrespected because he doesn't take her seriously, and he feels like she's just like fucking with him because, no, what do you mean you actually break curses? Like, that's not real. So through working together and hating each other and all of that, we get the romance and the tension and all that. I think I gave it 3 stars or 3.5. It wasn't my favorite book, and I have this problem with romances. If there's not an emotional arc, I don't really tend to like them or rate them high. But I will say Riley and Clark are pretty interesting, and I did like their personalities. But by the end of the book, I was kind of like just skim reading, like fast. I was like, okay, I just gotta finish this, because I was kind of not into it as much as once I got to the smut. I was kind of like, okay, I'm done. I've seen what I needed to see. I can move on with my life. But that book comes out on November 14th. If you want to check it out, I will say it was a good fall spooky romance. Okay, so speaking of a romance that I really did like, I need to hurry up. I forgot that my friend's coming over and she's gonna show up and be like, what are you doing? Anyway, I had to read a book by a Latinx author, and so I read Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, and I am in love with this book. Best book ever, best romance I've read all year, cannot get over it, will not get over it, will read everything by Abby Jimenez now and forevermore. Loved it so much. This is about Brianna and Jacob. Okay, they are both ER nurses, and when Jacob moves to her job, they kind of have a bad start, but then they have a bit of a catalyst that kind of throws them together. So basically, Jacob needs a fake girlfriend because he had a girlfriend that dumped him and is now marrying his brother. Family drama. And he needs a girlfriend to like get his family off his back. Okay. Bring in Brianna. Brianna's brother has a really bad condition. I think he needs a kidney transplant is what it was. And so he's like on dialysis and he's like having a terrible time, and that's like bringing Brianna down. Okay, so Jacob decides, I'm gonna do something really great for Brianna, just because Jacob is such a sweet cinnamon roll nice guy. He is like peak cinnamon roll, okay? Like peak cinnamon roll. I can't say it enough. I love him. But he decides he's going to give a kidney to her brother. And so she feels like, 1, you're so nice, I was wrong about you, I do like you. 2, I will literally die for you. Like, I would do anything for you because I love that you're doing that for my brother. So anyway, they're both kind of in this fake dating arrangement, but I feel like this book did a good job of not just being like a cringe fake dating. It really was them being friends, or learning to be friends, and then learning to like each other and trying to explore their own issues. It really did dive into a couple of different things like depression, anxiety, because Jacob is so anxious. He has like the worst social anxiety ever, and everything he was saying was so funny because I was like, he is literally me. Like, he would overthink every possible thing, and I'm like, me too, I get it. And so I think Jacob really made this book everything for me. But overall, I did love Brianna. I loved the whole story, and I just think you should read it. And if you have read it, please let's talk about it down below in the comments, because I loved it so much. I want to reread it again already. Oh, okay, so I think the AC just came on. Sorry if it sounds different. I feel like it's gonna sound different. I'll just yell. Okay, I had to read a middle grade book, and so I read The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes by Suzanne Collins, which is the prequel to The Hunger Games, about President Snow's villain origin story. And I already read that book when it came out in 2020. I reread it this time on audio, which is a long audiobook. It was like 16 hours. But I finished it because I was like, you know what? This is a prompt I need to check off in October. The movie is coming out in November, so let me read it. Like, there's no better time. So I read it. I loved it again. I don't know why some people hate it. I gave it 5 stars. I love it. I think it is a great villain origin story. Like, perfect. Like, no one else is doing that. I loved it, and I can't wait to see the movie. I will be going to see that. Okay, so I have 2 more books that I'm working on. One of them is to read a gothic novel, and I am reading that one right now. I'm reading Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. I don't know how to say that. This one is about the main character, which we don't ever know her name, or I haven't learned her name. I don't know. This book is kind of weird. It's like a gothic horror suspense romance, which is kind of odd. I've never read anything like that. It came out also in like 1970, I don't know, it's an old book, but it's about the character who marries a man who had an ex-wife, and I feel like the ex-wife is like haunting her, or she's like learning what happened to the ex-wife, and it's a lot of suspenseful, scary stuff. So that's all I'm getting right now. It's a bit dense, like it's kind of hard to read. Like, the prose is just every paragraph, every sentence, but I'm gonna get through it because it is still interesting and it's not that long, so I'm reading that right now. And then another book that I want to get through in October is this one. It's The Book Thief. There's kind of a couple throwaway prompts, which is like read a book at night, and I'm just gonna count this for that because I will at some point read at least some of it at night. I mostly read at night anyway, but I think this one is a war story. Like, it takes place during World War II or World War I, I'm pretty sure. And I mean, I feel like a lot of people have heard about The Book Thief, but I love this cover. Like, I love this edition that I have. I think it's so cute. And yeah, those are some books that I'm reading right now and that I've been reading. I hope this was enjoyable to you somehow. It's kind of like a wrap up, which I haven't done a wrap up for September, so maybe I'll do that in the future. But I'm glad I got to chat about books, and now I'm gonna go with my friend and go read books, and we're gonna talk about more books. So this is my life. But let me know what you've been reading, and I hope you enjoyed. And if you want to check out any of my social media, it's all linked down below. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. Check out my YouTube shorts on here, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.
Know that, baby, I'm never on your mind. And it don't matter how hard we try.